will exist because it's convenient for you to go back to. These videos do not exist for you to tune out for the hour and a half while we're in class and then go watch it. Like, try to follow along as much as you can. A lot like in 110, I'll probably go a little fast for everybody at certain points, and so go back to the video. But I do expect everyone to be trying to follow along in class as we're doing this. So I've got 2 versions of Blender on my computer right now. I'm just going to opt to open the other one really quick. Oh, you're really going to do that to me? Guess I won't opt. I'll just open this one. Where's the other one at? Whatever you have is probably fine. Some 4.3 version. I've got 4.3.0 because I'm working on a project with some people, and so I need like a couple of versions older. 4.3.2, I believe, is the newest. They're all fine. I've already done a bunch of setup on mine, so let me see what I can do. If I can just find the other version, I think I'd be happier. I bet if I open just something else, pay no attention to this part. I don't know, something. Just did it open another 4.3.0 or 4.3.2? There we go. There's 4.3.2. All right. Still not the regular. Just all right, so here we go. By default, this is what Blender looks like. We start with a cube. I'm going to walk you through a few things to get it where mine's at. So the first part of this is just going to be set up because there's some plugins and some tools that I really like and some things that I really like to do. And these, again, this will work for all versions of 4.3. So for now, look at this cube. We get it for free. Isn't it nice? See all the little facets on it? Up here, we've got 4 little spheres. So the first one is just wireframe mode. You see the edges. That's an edge. At the point where they meet as a vertex. If I go to the next one, we can see the faces shaded in, just in a standard gray color. The next one over. Are you locking up there on a cube? Hello, computer. Weird. Yeah. So at this point, we're getting light, and we could see some texture if we had texture on it. So on the third cube there, or third sphere, and then the last one is a fully rendered, right? And so this is what it would look like if we did a render of this cube right now. It's all the light, it's all the textures, materials. Generally, when we're doing our modeling, we'll be in the second one, just our flat colored surfaces. Now I'm going to show you a few things that I generally set up that I like. And so if I go to this drop down here right next to the spheres, there's a whole bunch of cool settings in here. I like to turn on cavity. Watch what happens to the cube. Just get a little highlight. We get a little ambient occlusion, so we get a little darkness if there was some edges that intruded. So I do cavity and turn it on both, and things just pop a little bit more. They look better. Let me just open. I'll show what that looks like. Let's do it here. So if I come back to this, so this is just, I think, flat. And then if I turn on the cavities here, hit both, things just, I don't know, they just look crisper. You can see your edges. You can see where things are indented. They just look cooler that way. So I like to have the cavity stuff on. So we'll go back to new. Oop. Okay, so that's already got cavity on. So I've got this guy. Another thing that I did, so when I went to File and New, I got this box instead of the regular box. You can, anything that you want as your starting object, or not to have an object at all. So I can grab this guy and hit X, delete him. At any point, if you've got Blender set up the way you like it, you can come over here to File and Defaults and Save Startup File, and it'll save whatever model you've got, whatever the cavity settings, viewport settings, all that. It'll save all that, and the next time you start Blender or do anytime you do a new Blender file, you'll get that. So what I've got now, when I hit New, a New General, then I get this cube, which is not the standard cube, but he is what I call Spidey Cube. He is right at, if I can go to my item here, he's right at 1.8 meters tall, which is about 6 foot. I don't think Spidey's that tall, but it's just what I've got. And so I use this to scale things too. Yeah, kind of goofy, but that's what I do. And so that's my default object instead of the regular cube. Every Blender tutorial you see on YouTube, they're going to start with a cube. They'll delete it and they'll make a new cube. I don't know why. Just like to make a new cube instead of that old cube that was already there. It's really weird. But yeah, by default we get a cube, but you can make that anything you want. So I've got cavities on. The other thing I've got going on over here is I've got these statistics on. And so is that over here? The other one. It's under the other one. So here, so the first drop down where I turned on cavity stuff to look all cool and sharp is on this side of the spheres. Over here, the next drop down is where I turn on statistics, and that just turns this on and off here. This tells me how many objects I've got in my scene, how many I've got selected, how many vertices are in my scene, how many edges, faces, triangles. Let's talk about edges, faces, and triangles. So looking at this cube here, I zoom in, right? So if I hit wrong button, if I hit tab, I go from object mode to edit mode. And now I've got these buttons up here that go from vertex, right? So I can just grab a point in space, or I can just select edges, right? Some point between two vertices, or I can grab a face, and I can move those around. Make Spidey taller. So that's edit mode. And then when I've got statistics on, you can see, right, when I grab this face, I've got 1 of 6 faces selected. Every square face is made up of 2 triangles. So there's 12 triangles, but 6 faces. And then I've got 4 vertices selected when I've got that 1 face selected. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. So I like to have that on, especially when you get, I'm going to keep going back and forth to a bunch of stuff. Do this one. So when you get to something complex, and it's a bunch of objects here, right? So I've got my hierarchy here. You can see all the different things. And so I've got 17 objects in this scene, but I've got 1 of them selected, right? And of the 190,000 faces on this thing, this object has only got 13,000 faces. But just good stuff to know. Yeah, especially when you're doing edits. Like, so if I came down here and I wanted to grab this face, and I wanted to, let's just say I want to grab all these faces that look like this, but I can't see the other side. Do I have all 4 selected? And I come up here and just see the number 4. I've got 4 faces selected. It's just something helpful. Does that make sense? So the other thing that I do is I have that statistics on almost all the time, just in case I want to screw something up. All right, go back to New, General, don't save. Those are the things that I turn on so that my viewport looks different than standard. Let me, this is 4.3. The other things that we're gonna use later, not this week, but a great set of tools. So I'm gonna come here to File, and it's not File, it's Edit. Go to Edit and Preferences. And there's 2 different things. There's add-ons and there's get extensions. It used to be everything was under add-ons. Now they're extensions, and some of them are add-ons. But anyway, I'm going to go to get extensions here. And one of the great tool sets that I like is Loop Tools. So if you spell it right, it'll find it. So I've got Loop Tools here, and mine says it's already installed because I've already done that. But if you search for Loop Tools, you should have a little install button, and that'll come in handy later. We can take any shape and turn it into like circles. There's lots of cool stuff we can do with that. And then the other one that I've got for the purposes of this class is screencast keys, which I haven't got turned on yet. And allow online access. There we go. And again, that's something I've got installed. So, all right, I'm done with 4.3.2. I'm going to jump back to 4.3 where I've got everything already set up. So here we go. Here's my screencast keys. Just turn that on, and then there we go. So this will show up in our videos. It'll show what I'm doing. It's somehow not registering my middle mouse button as much. Go. And then anything that I press will show up there. So that'll be helpful for the video or for even in class when you're wondering what I'm doing. Blender is full of shortcuts. Sometimes it's just easier to use shortcuts when you know them. So if I grab this guy here, hit spacebar, so it's playing an animation that didn't even exist. So if I come to this guy right here and I select him, I can come over here and I've got move tools. By the way, I'm scrolling my mouse wheel to move in and out. And if you click down your middle mouse wheel or your mouse button, that pans around. But I've got these tools over here, so I can go to this little cross guy, and of course that moves things around. Similar to anything else we've done in 3D before. Rotate things. I can scale things on different axes. So I'm just grabbing if I grab this blue here, then it's going on the X and Y axis, so it's just making Spider-Man fat. He's not getting taller, he's just getting fatter. Or I can make him taller. So that's scaling. These tools exist. I use them when I remember to, but I also have gotten reliant on shortcuts. So G is grab. So the move tool is G. And then if I hit that and start moving my mouse around, it moves. Hit enter and he's done. The other thing you can do is I can hit G and hit X, and now he's only going to move on the X axis. Or G and Z. Or, the thing I do way too much is I'll do G to grab and Z to move up and down on the Z axis, and then I'll just type in numbers, and he'll move up by 2. R is the same thing, so R to rotate, and then Z, and then 45. I'm going to rotate 45 on the Z axis. So R is rotate, S is scale. So those are the first shortcuts you should probably get used to. See where we ended up. Yep, he's fallen down. Spider-Man has fallen through the world. He's put on pounds. He doesn't look right. All right, let's undo all that. Or again, just go to File, New. I'm going to get rid of this guy. X to delete. And for this week, we're just going to be playing with shapes. So this week and this week only, I need everyone to look me in the eyes. This week only. Only this week. We're going to be playing like building blocks. We've got shapes, we'll stack them up. After that, it's not 3D modeling, you're just playing with building blocks. So we're doing the kindergarten version right now, your preschool. Okay, so just for this week, to see what we got, I'm going to go to Add and Mesh, and I've got all these things I can choose from. So I've got a cube, so we usually start with, and go to Add and Mesh, and I go to Sphere. Pulls that guy in. And so basically everything under Add and Mesh, we've just got a bunch of shapes we can start from. And they look a little goofy and faceted because I've got that cavity thing on. All right, move some things around and just move those out of the way. So we're going to go through all of those shapes that's under Add and make all those mesh objects. So a plane is literally just this. Let me talk about planes for a minute. So the cube here is a solid object. It's got faces all facing out If I drop this into Unity or Unreal or some kind of rendering engine, it's going to look like a cube. In Blender, Blender sometimes lies to us and tells us our stuff is prettier than it is. In Blender, this plane looks like a piece of paper. I can see it from both sides. But if I drop this into Unity, I'll see the truth, which is that only one of these faces is facing up. And then, so if, like, I think it's this one, I'll show you where I can check that in a minute. And so if I drop into anything else with this, I'm going to see this plane from this angle, but then if I get down underneath it, it just vanishes. It disappears. So a face is literally, right, 4 vertices or 3 vertices, even if it's a triangle, and a face going one direction, and it's invisible on the other side. So if I come over here to this guy, let me see, face orientation, down underneath where I had statistics, right? The blue means I can see it, and then the red means anywhere else I wouldn't see it. So if I grab this guy, and if I got the number pad for the number pad discussion, if I hit the decimal, the period on my number pad, it'll zoom in on what I've got selected. If you don't have a number pad, it's just you have a terrible life. No, there's other ways to do it. If you don't have a number pad, you can hit tilde and then 3, and it's the same thing. It'll zoom in on what you've got. But I wanted to zoom in on this and go inside. Get my camera inside the sphere. It's all red. So if I was inside this sphere in anything else, it would look like I wasn't inside anything because the faces aren't rendering back this way. Make sense? Maybe it will later. All right, so I'm going to turn that off. Anyway, that's face orientation and planes. We made planes, we made spheres. What else we got here? Add, mesh, cube, circles, just literally a circle. Doesn't do me any good. It's great if I want to use it for arrays or other modifiers we'll get to later, but for now, it just doesn't look that cool. There's a sphere, which we've already used. There's an icosphere, which is awesome. Just a little more faceted. It's made out of triangles instead of squares. One thing that we've been kind of missing, can I move this? Dang it. All right. Let me adjust my screencast keys here. Move that over there. All right. Now, if I just create something, I don't know if you've seen this box showing up here. So I'm going to create an icosphere. Get this little box here. It says add icosphere. Tell me what I just did. If I click on this, I can change some stuff about it before it's finished creating. So I can change this to one subdivision. And I've got a magical object. What's that look like? There we go. Yeah. So I just changed to 1. I've got a D20. There we go. We made dice. Look how awesome we are already. So anything you do, right? So if I move this guy, then with this box open, I can see that I moved him by 3.62 blah, blah, blah meters on the X. And I can change that. All right, I can grab that arrow and move it around. I can move it way too much. I can change it back to 0. So that little box there is super helpful for a lot of stuff. Usually collapsed and hidden, but I like to have it open to see what I did and make adjustments to it. We'll finish going through mesh, cylinder. That's a good one. Let's just move this. I'm going to move all these guys out of the way. And the other thing we're going to do, since we're doing building blocks this week only, get out of here. All right, I'm going to make a sphere, a UV sphere, and then I'm going to make a cone. And then tilde 3, and look at that, I just made a snow globe. Amazing. Ooh, ah. So that's something we're going to be doing this week, stacking blocks. Again, this week only. And then we'll actually model things. But just to get used to the shapes, we can do that this week. Add. There's a grid, doesn't do me much good. He's just kind of like a plane. And then the one that usually gets the most love this week is monkey. So for your basic shapes, your cubes, your spheres, your cones, your monkeys, they've got us covered. The monkey here actually has a name. It's Suzanne. I don't know why. It's Suzanne. And this exists to be a simple but complex enough object that if you were going to check UVs or lighting or shadows or something on it, you've got a good complex object right out of the box. In other software, it's other things. So in 3ds Max, your complex thing was a teapot. You ever seen teapots everywhere? That's why. In Blender, for whatever reason, it's a monkey, and that usually ends up being monkey mechs and monkey robots and monkey shrines and all kinds of stuff. All right, I'm going to take Suzanne and move her off over here. I'm going to take my I'm going to box select both of these. I'm going to make another one, and we'll see what else we can do with Suzanne. So add mesh monkey. So I've got sizes, locations. I can change the overall size as I'm creating it. Move it around. I can rotate it here. So there's cool stuff I can do. Let me just check the rubric for this week and see what we're supposed to be doing, because I've just been playing. Then we need to start getting into colors and files and folders and all the fun stuff that I forgot about. Oh, and text objects. Oh, and metaball. Yeah, we should do metaball. That's fun. Make a combined object. Always check the rubric. I think we've been through this before. Always check the rubric. So the snow globe we made counts here. There's 5 free points for you. Make a sphere and a cone, and you've got a snow globe. Do that again. Make a house. Do something else. Now we're going to make 5 material colors, and we'll look at animating. Maybe we'll look at animating later in the week. Who knows? We'll probably do it all twice. All right. So again, this has been in this second sphere. So of my cavity things on, and we've got other objects and other things going on here. So N is the hotkey to make this panel go in and out, and I can see the location and rotation of things that I've got selected. I can change their scale here. Got access to tools, different things here, and that's where my screencast settings are at. Don't worry about those. And then the second one over, we lose our cavity thing. Can I turn it back on for this? No, it only works on the other one. But here, if we add colors, we can see them in this tab. So let me go back here and just prove that I'm not crazy. No, too late. So we go to this sphere here, and if I come over here on the side, so I've got this hierarchy view of all the things that are in my scene right now, and I can select different things here. Or I've got this like tab farm of different things I can do with whatever I've got selected. So I'm going to grab this guy. He was a sphere. I scaled him a little bit, so now he looks goofy on the one axis. He looks like a mutated M&M or something. I've got all these other cool things down here that I can do with it. So if I go to the very last one down here, the material tab, it's this little red ball. I can give him a new material. So by default, everything's just this default material that's gray. So I hit the material tab on the bottom. You can hit plus here to make a new material, slot, and then I'll hit plus here to make a new material. Hello? And the thing froze again. Super awesome. Okay. So there may be some call for going back to 4.2. If Blender 4.3 keeps being freezy like that, we'll make changes. So I've got this new material. He's called material 1. I can call him whatever. Or, actually say we'll call this material red, and I can come down here and say change the base color to red. And I've got this cool color wheel. And now he's red, obviously, right? But he doesn't show up here because in this view, our second sphere, everything's still the gray. If I come over to this one, we can see he's red. All right. And so now if I go to the last one, we can see that he's red with some cool lights and shadows in the scene. This can get expensive as we get more lights and more shadows. So we generally don't play very often on the very last sphere. But this one, if we want to see our materials and colors. Yeah. So that's a way to make a color. I named it red. Now I can go over and I can select other things and use that same material on them. So this D20, that is right now called Icosphere 01, I can double click this and call it D20 so I can name it. And then I've got my material tab open here. I can just hit this drop down and say, you be red. I just colored him red. So I just added that same material to him. Here I'm going to zoom in on my cylinder. And we're going to do something really goofy. And I'm going to give him the Spidey material that I had. And it's not going to fit the same way it did on the cube. But there it is. Or I can say, you know what, he'd look better in red. Or, plus, I'll make a new material, and we'll call it something else. Call it blue. And then just to be chaotic, we'll make it yellow. And go to red and minus and take that off, and that's going to take the next one, which is called blue, but is yellow. Why would you do that? Why would you lie? What's wrong with you? What kind of university are we at here? I've seen it too often. Like, seriously, be honest. Name your stuff right. Name your variables right. Name your colors right. So I can rename this, or I can just change it to blue. But I've literally seen that. I've been in projects, and someone had like, yeah, here's the blue color for this, and it's like orange. I'm like, what did you do? So don't lie to people. All right, I'm going to come over here, and so there's back in gray mode, color mode. Not part of this week's assignment, but let's just get advanced for just a second. Who likes this Epcot-looking sphere? Bunch of psychos. Wouldn't it look cooler if it was smooth? Actually look like an M&M? No? Okay, he doesn't want M&Ms. Share with him. I'm going to have some M&Ms. Sorry, I just made myself hungry. So if I right-click on this guy, I can shade him smooth. And it doesn't look like that. Or I can do something called auto smooth. So let me come over here to my cylinder. And hit, again, numpad decimal if you've got it, or tilde 3. And then if I shade this guy smooth, look at that. Ugh. It tries to smooth everything. Yucky. But I could do shade auto smooth, and it smooths the things that need to be smooth, but if it gets to a certain threshold, it keeps the sharp edges, and that's down here. So I can change the angle here. So if I up to 45, everything 45 degrees, and under, between the faces, is going to be smoothed out. We haven't changed the geometry. We just changed the way the light hits it. So let's smooth it out. But again, right up here where we're at a 90-degree angle coming off this edge going to the top, it's going to keep a crisp edge there. So I go to 85, it'd still be fine. If I go to 90, we get yucky again. Excuse me. Oh. So I'm going to change my, I lost it. Look what happened. I changed, so I can either redo shade auto smooth and get this thing back. Change it back up to 35. Or the other thing I can do, if I've clicked off, so I'm going to do this with Suzanne over here. Zoom in on her. I can change this to auto smooth. And it defaults to whatever I had before. I think the default's usually 30. You see it smooths some things. It keeps some crisp edges. Or if I want to adjust that later, right? So I select Suzanne again, and this little upside down Triforce triangle above the material thing is just a whole lot of data, including it's not where I expect to find it. They must have moved some stuff on me. Texture space, attributes. Well, shoot. All right, jump over this part of the video. Oh, that's right. They did move it. Okay. Huh? Yeah, it's under modifications now. You're right. It used to be over here. I could change the amount of the auto smooth, but now it's under the wrench, under modifiers. And so it's added as a modifier. And so I can change the amount here to a higher number and it smooths more things. A lower number, it smooths less. So just a cool thing to do to clean up your scene. Yeah, I'd forgotten they moved it. I knew that like a week ago when I was playing with this and then just forgot it this morning. Awesome. All right, so we made colors, we made shapes, we made complex, super amazing things like this snow globe. Now we need to do I think we need to do meta balls and text objects. So we're going to go back under here under add and find all the cool things. So curves we won't get into. This fourth one down is meta ball. And this gives us some shapes too, so I can make a ball. Just move him over here. Then I can make a meta ball cube. And he's over here. He's kind of cool. But what's different about meta balls is they're almost like clay. So if I get this guy close enough, look at what happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like morph together. It's just kind of like lumps of clay. So I'm going to make a few more meta ball things. We'll do a capsule. Yeah, or whatever, right? We can just start to.
When they get close to each other like that, do they become one object, or can you still like animate them to be pulled apart and they would like go together?
You can still like right now. I mean, they're still separate ish. I think I can grab like the whole thing. No, they're separate for now. These are great if I want to block out something. If I want to make a character out of this cube and then have his arm come off and like this, let's say we drag this up and it's going to be his head, right? So this is a quick clay way to start a shape, and then I would combine it all and convert it to something else, and then I would have one object that I could extrude polys from like we would ordinarily. It's just a cool way to just kind of quickly shape some stuff together. So do something meta ball. Grab this guy, and if I scale him on the X, oh, didn't grab him right away. Or get the right one. There we go. S, X, double M, G on the X, over, nope, -2. Now we'll scale them. There we go. A little too much. Maybe we'll scale them back down some. There we go. Move them, and now we've got the start of a legless person. I don't know. So do something with meta balls. And then I think I've got text on there. So let's look at text really quick. So if I go to add and text, by default, I just get this thing that says text, which is inside my monkey right now. Now if I hit tab, I can backspace and start typing whatever. Zoom in. So tab, I get my cursor, and then tab again to stop. So you can add any text in there. When you're in this mode, let me find it down here. So for this data, we can change somewhere up in here. We can change the fonts. We can change all kinds of crazy stuff. There it is, font right there. So I can change the font of this to something else. I think it'll use whatever fonts you've got installed on your computer, or it might just be limited to some Blender fonts. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I've got full access to my Windows fonts. So let's see what kind of ridiculous nonsense we can find. The weirder, the better. Javanese? I don't even know what this is about. Okay. Wingdings, all of that crazy stuff. We'll just do that. We'll open that font, and now we get that. And then, yeah, we'll just leave a flat font for now. And then same thing with materials. I can just add a color to this, so now it's red. And then we just need to animate and render and do the folder thing. Oh, let's do the folder thing really quick. All right, right now, I've just got a Blender file. So it's literally just a dot blend. I haven't even saved anything anywhere. So kind of a bad deal. If Blender crashes or my computer crashes or my battery dies or whatever, we've lost all kinds of work. I should be saving and saving often. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do File and I'm going to do a Save As. And then I can save this in some folder. So generally what I do is I've got my users folder, documents, and then I've got a folder for whatever I'm in. So I've got Blender folders, I've got Unity folders, I've got Photoshop folders, Adobe folders, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I've got a Blender folder, and then I've got a folder for different years. And so I'm going to make a new folder here. I'm going to call this 220 for 2025. That, and I'll do a new folder. And so for this will be week 1, and then I'm going to put my initials there. If your initials are not RWT, please don't use those. Get your own initials. And then, whatever. Add the year, add a name. So I've got a folder. I'm going to come in here, and what we're going to want to do is 4 folders in here. So I'm going to do a scenes folder. Hit that button again. I'm going to do a textures folder. I'm going to try to remember what else I want to do. And then exports and renders. That's it. My brain is still hard in winter break mode, and I'm working on it. So we'll do a renders folder, and we'll do a textures folder. What? Didn't work. Yes, that's right. So that's why I didn't name it. Okay. Exports. Okay. And so all of that to get to a scenes folder, and I'm going to save my scene here. So I want my scene in my scene folder. So building blocks, dot blend, save as, it's there. Look at renders really quick. So here, I showed you the little end panel, comes in and out. Look at these buttons it's pushing. So there's a camera here, and so I can go here, and right now the camera is just zoomed in on Suzanne. is not seeing the rest of my scene. All right, so turn that back off. Now I can come out here, I can see the camera. I can start to move him around to maybe take in more of the scene. So I can just move and rotate the camera using my usual things. And then if I go to camera here, wow, way off. So I'll show you some tricks. I'm just going to grab everything I want my camera to look at. So I'm going to go to the select instead of moving, so I can actually move some stuff. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to hit shift, and just start clicking. So I want to make sure all of this is in my selection. And then if I come up here to view, and then align view, align active camera to selected. And now the camera's moved so that it encompasses everything I had selected. Cool. If I did this with just these two, it would cut off my block. So I'll do that. I've got these two objects selected. I've got my camera turned on so we can see it right away. View, align camera to selected. And it didn't care that there was stuff in front of it. You can see the monkey head back here and this torus here, and it zoomed in on those two things. Do all those again. Same thing, view, align view, active camera to selected. Now I've got everything again. And if I come up here and do render and render image, I've got this amazing thing. I can just save this. It's got all my lighting data. It's got my materials. So I can go to image. I can go to save as. It's going to default as a PNG, which we like. I'll put that up here in my renders folder. Call it Look Mom. And save that PNG. And now I can just send this home to my family, and they can feel really good about all the money they're spending on my college tuition. Or, make something prettier than this and make your family more proud. That's how to do a render. I feel like I've thrown a lot at you already. Let's do the animation. We'll save that for Thursday. We'll animate some stuff on Thursday. For now, just make a bunch of goofy things. Make a scene. Make it make some sense. Take one of your planes and scale it way up and make it be the grass and make it green and add a whatever. Make a cool scene out of this and a render. We'll animate some stuff on Thursday, and then I want to show some other things that are going on this week. So this week, because this is so simple, we've got a few things going on. So this is a building blocks assignment. I've got a quiz here, and this is just covering like the first chapter of Blender, the Blender book. And it's really vocab stuff. Okay, so it's going to be things like, what's this tool called? They're all literally pulled from the book. This is an open book. Do it at home test. So you'll pull up the thing and it'll say, who knows what it's going to say. Let me see what we got here. Preview. I'll preview. It's not. Obviously, reading the chapter will be helpful. The 3D coordinate system uses three-dimensional axes, swords, spears. Nice. It's axes. It's actually their battle axes. Yeah, that was the whole pun there. Terrible. And that is somewhere. That sentence is somewhere in the first chapter. Like literally, just scan through. Should be easy. Again, it's just to get you familiar with the lingo. What's that look? Okay. I just feel like you're judging me. I don't like it.
When's that quiz due by? Because I'm still yet to receive my books.
It's due by Monday night. So we're on that schedule in here. All the homework will be due on Monday night. So you've got the whole weekend plus, and if it's due on Sunday night, you guys will completely not observe the Sabbath, and so I'm not putting you in that situation. So it's due Monday night. Borrow a book if you don't get it by Monday. Did you get it through the Wildcat, whatever access?
Wildcat access.
They should have it. Just find a friend to carry it for you, because Xander said it was too heavy. All right, so that's going on, and then this one's a little bit of work. I've got a whole video series, 19 videos that Blender did. I don't expect you to memorize 19 videos worth of things. Put this on in the background and just absorb it. But it's going to walk you through some very fundamental things. This is based on Blender 2.8, but the interface hasn't really changed that much since then. 2.8 was a huge shift. Most of the things are still the same, even now in 4.3. Watch these videos. It's an hour and a half of videos. Watch it while you're supposed to be doing something else, while you're reading a book, while you're building your scene. Just go through those 19 videos, kind of pay attention a little bit when something sounds interesting. And then what I want you to do is give me another file that has used some of the tools that they talked about. So they're going to go through extrudes and loop cuts and bevels and knives and colors and shadings, which we already did colors. It's going to go through some UV unwrapping, things like that. Just give me something complex, not a building block object. And so that could be, just go down here. All right, so I can, well, first, this is the wrong color. So let me just give this a new material. Obviously, we'll call it green. And then because we don't want to be liars, we'll make it green. If we take the blue material off, then it'll use the default green there. Okay, so now I've got a green thing. If I hit tab, go to the top here, this face, I've got these extrude tools, which they're going to walk you through, or I can just use the shortcut, which is E. I'll pull this up to about there. And then I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to shortcut this. I'm going to select edge rings. So I grab all of those. If I hold control and then go back to faces, now I've got all those selected, and I'm going to do extrude along normals and just pull those out. Over here, and I'll inset this guy. And I'll hit E, and I'll push it down. And now, this is probably too high poly for Mario 64, but you get the idea. So watch the videos. Yeah, it's an upside down green top hat. Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you're well versed in our culture. Use extrude, use inset, use some things, make something a little more complex than just our building block stuff over here. Make sense? All right. So watch the videos, or most of them, or fumble through with that. Put them on. At least put them on in the background at double speed or something. Absorb some information. They're cool videos. And then just make something. In another scene, in another folder, make something. And so you're going to submit when we're all done here, right? So we're going to go here to my documents folder in Blender. And for this year, I've got week 1. So this folder right here with my initials on it that's got these cool folders inside of it, that folder is what I want you to submit. So you can right click, compress to, zip file, and you'll submit that zip to Canvas. For the building blocks, you'll do the exact same thing for that other thing where I tell you to watch videos and make something more complex. So watch videos, make something else, give me a whole different zipped folder. If you've got a Mac, I assume you know how to compress rather than zip or whatever they're calling it. I generally jump back and forth between Mac and PC, so I interchange lingo. Sorry, not sorry. All right. Everything's super clear. Clear as mud. Yeah. Good. Okay. Just because my throat's starting to hurt from talking too much, This is probably more than I talked the entire winter break. I'm gonna take a break. So we'll come back and we'll look at animating some stuff in your building block scene on Thursday. So don't turn in the building block scene yet because you're not done with it. We'll do some more on Thursday. But this you can speed run and just make something cool. They're going to cover a lot of the stuff we've already covered. They're going to cover some stuff we haven't, and then make something cool. And we will get more complex and more in depth as the weeks go on. Cool. Welcome back, everybody. Yay.